Somebody watching this right now feels disqualified. Not tired, not stressed, disqualified. Like the season you're in right now is proof that you missed your window. Proof that the plan God had for your life got derailed somewhere back there, and you don't know how to find your way back to it. Maybe it was a divorce that ended a marriage you thought was going to last forever. Maybe it was a business that failed after you poured everything you had into it. Maybe it's an addiction you've been fighting for so long you're starting to believe it's just who you are now. Maybe it's a child who won't return your calls, or a friendship that ended in silence, or a diagnosis that changed the shape of your future overnight. Or maybe it's simpler than all of that. Maybe it's just time that passed, years that went by while you were surviving instead of building. And somewhere along the way, you started believing a lie. You started believing that God's best plans are for other people. People who didn't mess up like you did. People who didn't waste the years you wasted. People who had it easier, who started earlier, who never had to crawl their way back from where you're standing right now. I need you to hear me clearly today. That is not the truth. That has never been the truth. You have been carrying shame like it's your identity. You wear it like it's a badge, like it's proof of who you are, instead of just proof of what you went through. And there's a difference, a massive difference, between what happened to you and who you are. Here's what nobody told you. Shame doesn't come from God. Conviction comes from God. Conviction says, that's not who I want to be anymore. Shame says, that's all you'll ever be. One of those voices leads you toward change. The other one keeps you frozen. And for years, some of you have been listening to the wrong voice and calling it humility. It's not humility. It's a prison. And you have the key. You've had it the whole time. So let me ask you something. How long are you going to stand outside the door God already opened for you? How long are you going to let a season, a hard, painful, real season, write the ending to a story that God never finished? Because here's the thing about seasons. A season is not a sentence. Winter doesn't apologize for being cold. Winter doesn't explain itself to the trees. It just does what winter does. But winter doesn't last forever either. And neither does this. Whatever this is for you right now, the debt, the loneliness, the diagnosis, the waiting, the not knowing, it is a season. Seasons change. That's not motivational language. That's how seasons work. They move. And so will this one. I want to tell you something about restoration because I think you've misunderstood what it actually means. There's a passage in the book of Joel where God makes a promise to his people after years of devastation. He says he will restore the years that the locusts ate. Stop and think about that for a second. Not erase the years. Not pretend they didn't happen. Restore them. Give back what was taken. Turn the very thing that devastated you into raw material for what comes next. That means the years you think you wasted, God is not done with them. That means the failure you're still hiding from people at church, from your own family, from the mirror, God is not disqualified by it. That means the mistake sitting on your chest like a stone right now, the one you replay at 2 in the morning, that is not the final word on your life. God specializes in unfinished stories. He always has. Look at every person he ever used in Scripture, and you'll find the same pattern over and over again. Moses had a temper and a record. He killed a man and ran from his past for 40 years, hiding in the desert, tending sheep, probably assuming his best days were behind him. And that's exactly where God met him. Not after he cleaned himself up, not after he'd proven himself. In the middle of his hiding, David had an affair and a cover-up that led to a man's death. A king, a man after God's own heart, who fell about as far as a person can fall. And God didn't erase him from his story. God used his broken, honest confession as one of the most quoted prayers in human history. His failure didn't disqualify him. His honesty about it did something his success never could. Peter denied Jesus 3 times to his face in public on the worst night of his life, right when it mattered most. And a few weeks later, that same Peter stood up and preached the sermon that started the church. Nobody handed him a new identity. He just stopped believing the old failure was the final chapter. Jonah ran from the exact assignment God gave him. He got on a boat going the opposite direction of his purpose. And God didn't give up on the assignment. He just used a storm and a fish and a very uncomfortable few days to bring Jonah back to where he needed to be. Paul, before he was Paul, was a man who hunted down and persecuted the very people he would later spend his life defending. If anyone had a resume that should have disqualified him, it was him. And instead, his past became the proof that nobody is too far gone. None of them were disqualified by their worst chapter. Why would you be? I don't care how long you've been stuck. Stuck is not permanent. I don't care how many times you've tried and failed. Failure is not your final report card. I don't care what the last 10 years looked like. The next 10 don't have to match them. You were not created to live small because life got hard. You were not created to shrink because people misunderstood you, walked away from you, or wrote you off. You were not created to apologize for still being here, still believing, still hoping after everything you've walked through. You were created for more than survival. You were created for restoration. You were created for a comeback that's going to make the setback look like a setup. Say that with me if you need to, right now, out loud, wherever you are. My hardest chapter is not my final chapter. Say it again like you mean it. Say it like you're tired of the old story having the last word. Now, I want to talk to you about the waiting because that's usually where people give up. Not in the failure itself, in the waiting that comes after. You prayed. You believed. You made the changes you knew you needed to make. And then, nothing happened right away. The door didn't open the next week. The relationship didn't heal overnight. The job offer didn't come the moment you finally applied yourself. And in that silence, doubt crept in and started asking dangerous questions. What if this is just how it's going to be now? What if I already missed my chance? Here's what I need you to understand about the waiting. It's not empty. It's not wasted. It's not God forgetting about you. It is preparation. It is God doing work in you that he couldn't do in the comfort of the old season. Every person who ever carried a real assignment went through a wilderness first. Not because God enjoys watching people struggle, but because the wilderness strips away everything you were leaning on that wasn't him. You don't build endurance in the easy seasons. You build it in the ones that test whether you'll keep showing up when there's no applause, no proof, no evidence that anything is changing. That's exactly the season some of you are in right now. And I need you to know it's working, even when you can't see it. Even when it feels like nothing is happening. Something is happening. Stop comparing your wilderness to somebody else's harvest. That's the trap. You scroll through a screen and you see somebody your age with the marriage, the career, the family photo that looks like it came out of a magazine, and something in you whispers, you're behind. You're late. You missed it. That whisper is a liar. You're not behind. You're not on their timeline. You were never supposed to be. Comparison will steal the only thing you actually have control over, which is showing up faithfully in your own story, today, right where you are. I want you to picture something for a second. Picture the version of you that's on the other side of this season. Not perfect, not untouched by what you went through, but whole, steady, standing in a place you couldn't even see from where you're standing right now. That version of you exists. God already sees them. He's already working right now, in the middle of your mess to get you there. The job that fell apart. That's not the end of your provision. That's God clearing space for something you couldn't have said yes to while you were still holding onto the old thing with both hands. The relationship that broke. That's not proof you're unlovable. That's God protecting a future you can't see yet. The years that feel wasted, they're not wasted. They're training. Every single one of them. Every hard conversation. Every failure. Every night you didn't think you'd make it through. All of it is being woven into something you don't have the full picture of yet. You don't need the full picture today. You just need to take the next step. That's it. That's all faith has ever asked of anyone. Not certainty. Not a 5-year plan with every detail mapped out. Just the next step, taken in trust, even when your hands are shaking. Let me get specific with you for a moment because I don't want this to just float somewhere up in the air as a nice idea. I want it to land in your actual life. If it's your finances, if you're lying awake doing math that never adds up, if you feel like you'll never dig out from under what you owe, I want you to hear this. Being in debt is not the same as being without hope. It's a season of discipline, not a life sentence. God is not shamed by your bank account. He's not waiting for you to earn your way back into his favor before he starts helping you build something different. Start where you are. Do the next right thing with the next dollar. Restoration rarely arrives all at once. It arrives one faithful decision at a time. If it's your health, if you got a diagnosis that rearranged everything you thought your future looked like, if your body doesn't do what it used to do, and some days that grief feels heavier than the illness itself, I want you to hear this. Your value was never in your strength. It was never in what your body could produce or accomplish. You're not less because you're weaker than you used to be. Some of the deepest, most anchored faith you will ever witness comes out of people who had to learn to trust God with a body that no longer cooperated with their plans. If it's your family, if there's a son or a daughter who won't answer the phone, a parent you haven't spoken to in years, a relationship that broke, and neither side knows how to be the one who reaches out first, I want you to hear this. Love doesn't expire just because contact was lost. Keep the door open, even from a distance. Keep praying, even in the silence. Some of the most beautiful reconciliations happen after seasons so long and so quiet that everyone involved had privately given up hope. Don't be the reason that door never gets the chance to open again. And if it's simply this, if you're just tired, worn down by a version of life that looks fine on the outside but feels hollow on the inside, going through motions that used to mean something and now barely register, I want you to hear this most of all. Numbness is not your final destination. Feeling nothing is not the same as being at peace. God can meet you in the flatness of an ordinary Tuesday just as powerfully as he meets people in their most dramatic crises. You don't have to hit some catastrophic bottom for this to apply to you. You just have to be honest that you're not okay and be willing to let something new begin. Here's something I need you to release once and for all. The comparison between your beginning and someone else's middle. You are not behind because your breakthrough looks different than someone else's timeline. Abraham was 75 before his story really began. Moses was 80 when he finally stepped into his calling. Some of the deepest, most fruitful assignments in Scripture did not go to the young and untested. They went to people who had already lived enough of life to know exactly how much they needed God to show up. Your age, your setbacks, your slow start, none of that disqualifies you. If anything, it qualifies you. You know now what you didn't know when you were younger and more certain of yourself. That knowledge is not wasted. It's the exact foundation the next chapter is going to be built on. So here's what I need you to do. Stop standing outside the door. Stop letting shame write your story when grace already offered to rewrite it. Stop waiting to feel ready, because you're never going to feel ready. You're just going to have to be willing. Get up. Not because the pain is gone. Not because everything makes sense yet. Not because you finally have all the answers you've been praying for. Get up because your story isn't over and it was never going to end in the season you thought was the final one. Get up because the mistake you made 5 years ago does not get to vote on who you become 5 years from now. Get up because the diagnosis, the divorce, the debt, the disappointment, none of it gets the final word on your life. Only God gets the final word, and he hasn't said it yet because he's not finished. Your hardest chapter is not your final chapter. God is not finished with you. He's just getting started.